What's up, reefers? Happy Thursday. Today we are here with Sever. Thank you for joining, and also Micheal, also known as Viking Reefer. So we can obviously dive right into it, but I first have to just say, nice hat.
Thank you.
So for those of you who are joining in, Sid, welcome. You are the lucky number one, and we're going to get to your Majestic Angel comment in just a moment. But a couple months back, we had Micheal on, and we were talking about his tank, and this was before his tank transfer. So now it's been a couple months, and as you can see by the tank behind him, the tank transfer was successful. So we asked him to come back and talk a little bit about that transfer, what it was like, what he learned, what he would do again differently, and then also some of the nutrient issues that he's been battling in his tank. So Micheal, I'll hand it on over to you. Maybe, again, give a bit of an overview for those who may not have joined on the first time, a little bit about yourself, the tank, and then we can dig into things a bit more.
Yeah, sure. So my name is Micheal, also known as Viking Reefing. I've been reefing for about 20 years now. I started off because my grandfather introduced me to reef tanks and freshwater tanks as well. And I used to have a tank just where I'm sitting right now. So I have a wall here, and that's where the old tank was sitting. And here in Sweden, we have a very long paternity leave. So I was off from work for 5 months, and I realized, I'm going to go insane if I don't have some project to work on. And well, perfect time to start up a huge new reef tank when, one, you've never been as poor as when you just had a kid, and you don't have all that much time. But it was a great process. Sure. It really helped me keep my mind straight, have a project to work on. It was awesome. And luckily, I managed to get in touch with Aaron before all this. So he helped me out a bunch with good comments and advice for the transfer, and also some nifty little products and stuff that would ease things. So basically, I damn near killed myself doing the transfer. First off, this tank is...
Yes, we'll talk about the size and then how you got it to where you did.
Yeah, so this tank is 2 meters by, it's 80 centimeters deep and 65 centimeters high, and it has a external overflow box here. Mm-hmm. And I had about 10 millimeters of clearance to get this tank into my basement. And it's kind of heavy. It's Euro-braced and everything.
For those in the US, that's 2 inches clearance he had to get this tank in.
Yeah. And if I actually had the overflow box on, it just wouldn't fit. I would have to remove the framing for the door and everything. We had to unhinge the door. So I glued the overflow box on myself. And we have a pretty steep staircase down to our cellar, basement, where I'm sitting now. And we're 3 people carrying this beast down.
But not people. I just have to add that there's 3 massive people.
And I teased Aaron a bit about this because he had such troubles getting his tank inside the house.
So when you have a Euro brassing, so I mean the glass is a little bit thinner. So it's not so heavy that the one that it's frameless.
The ocean guards, yeah. Yeah, well, what mil glass is your
exactly?
tank?
I think you have 19 mil or something, right?
19 mil, yeah.
15.
Okay. Significantly lighter.
Mine's 15, so I think yeah. So that was an interesting process. I was almost having a heart attack for the duration when we were carrying it down, but everything worked out great. But the worst part was transferring the tank, because the tank was actually sitting. The old tank had to be removed first to be able to get this tank in. Yeah. And I have my sump room on that side of the wall, so I couldn't actually just move the tank and just have it sitting somewhere else. So I had to disconnect everything, get the old tank out of the way, get the new tank in place, set everything up in a day. So I believe we started, let's see here, we started with the actual transfer at 7:30 in the morning, and I believe I was done about 3 in the morning the following day or something. I wasn't nearly done, but gone so far as I could, like, okay, I can get a couple of hours of sleep now, everything won't die. So yeah, that was kind of interesting. And since I'm a moron, I never wear any gloves. So my hands were twice the size because all the bristleworms and all the little nasties I managed to sting myself on.
But that's the first tip for people who will just move the tank. Use the gloves.
Yeah, I remember telling you to get some of those like cow birthing gloves that go all the way up to your shoulders.
Yeah, but you know, I'm a moron, so yeah, that's gonna happen.
For the next.
So my hands, yeah, exactly. My hands were flaking for about 2 weeks afterwards. It was really nasty. So please wear gloves. One other tip is to always make more water than you think you'll need. I made about 800 liters of water, and that wasn't nearly enough because you waste so much in the transfer and everything.
Sure.
So
I also remember that. I also remember that when I have a moving in the tank, I prepared like 10% more that it should be the volume, but somehow it was not enough. And it's probably a very important tip.
And for you, your move
exactly.
was
only,
so only 3 meters. I know, between each other.
Yep. Yep. And my old tank was 500 liters. This tank is 1,000 liters. The overall system volume is about 1,500 liters. So I thought I had enough water, but nah. I was really behind on the ball on that one. So my RO unit worked overtime for a couple of days before I managed to top everything up.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, and heat it. You need to heat it during the time, and probably it took a long time. So yeah, that you should be prepared before.
Yep,
and if I remember correctly, your water bin to make is not the biggest either. So did you get another bin, or did you just keep filling up that little trash bin that you had?
I just kept filling it up. I really need to fix that situation now because I mean my RO bin is 100 liters. This tank is 1,000 liters, and I have another 100 liters of water, salt water for my automatic water changes. So yeah, I need like thrice that or something.
Yeah, yeah.
But the actual
problem.
Yep, exactly. But the actual move and everything went off very smoothly. I had no issues with any coral die-off, no weird fluctuations in nutrients or anything like that. And I attribute actually a lot to that to life source. Because I got a huge diabloom a couple of days in. And talked to Aaron, and he said, like, dump a bag of life source on that thing. Did that, went away like 4 days or something. And the tank really did stabilize. So that was wonderful. I also run the biofill. Biofill? Exactly. Which I've actually taken offline now because of my nutrient issues, since it seems to be extremely efficient in removing nitrates. In conjunction with, I have a pretty big Royal exclusive skimmer and stuff like that, big refuging and everything. So yeah, I have some problems with keeping nutrients up in this tank.
And I remember digging into that with you, some of the reasons why. And so people can't see behind your light, you've got a window there. And so, we were going back and forth on, why am I getting algae on certain panes of glass and not everywhere? Why is my nutrients, low on the nitrates and phosphates, but still getting some of this nuance, algae and stuff. And I remember when you messaged me saying that the window may be accounting for more than I thought, even though the lights are still there. And so it's interesting how we think of so many different variables at play, but the obvious one, such as the window there behind you, is a factor that we didn't take into account.
And I'm really happy that like 2 days before I moved the tank, I installed some blinds on those windows, so I can actually. So I remember like, oh shoot, I need that's something I have to do because I won't be able to do that when the tank is in place.
Right.
So yeah, it was like a break. But I had like.
Sorry, what was that?
Exactly.
Yeah, and so like maybe let people know your fish you got in there. So this morning you posted about your Majestic, and Sid was asking about the amount of angels that you have in your tank and how they're doing. Maybe give us a bit of an overview of what fish you have in there now. We were kind of like fish buddies for a long time because we had a lot of the same fish. Maybe, but for those who don't know, maybe share what you got and what your plans are.
Yeah, sure. So I have a passion for the more challenging fish. Since I've been doing this a long time, I like a challenge. I like to figure out how to see the needs of a fish, see what other people have done, and see, do I think I can figure out to do something differently to make this into a success where others have failed. So what I've got at the moment is an Achilles tang, a purple tang, copper band butterfly, a regal angel, a majestic angel, a gold flake angel. Let's see here. I have a mandarin, a couple of dispar anthias. Let's see here what we got. Bangor cardinal.
Okay. I see the Navarro.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. A cleaner wrasse, one lyre tail anthias. That's really old. They've been. I bought 5 or 6 a bunch of years ago, and they've been steadily declining over the years. So I have
that's what tends to happen.
Exactly. And I think I have I have a couple clownfish, a 6-line wrasse, and a diamond goby, and I think that's it.
Anything else that you want to add to the tank?
Oh, tons. Actually, I partly blame you, Aaron, for my nutrient issues, because you went ahead and got a urinema. I've never quarantined a fish in my life, but Aaron got hit with that freaking pestilence, which really did spook me.
Yeah, and it should scare.
So I have to set up some sort of a observation tank for new arrivals.
I think having a quarantine now is a mandatory for all reefers who have the space. Even if you've got to tuck it away somewhere, it's one of these things that I've learned the hard way, and it's taken months, of battling it to get kind of back online again with the tank. So I'm glad that my incident had planted the seed for you to set up a quarantine tank in your fish room, so that when you do get some new stuff, that you can properly quarantine them before adding it to your great tank.
Exactly, but I would, in accordance with my calculations, I would have a lot more fish at this point. So that's why I have such efficient filtration. So I'm way over-filtering this tank at the moment due to that. But I've had a real struggle. I've been trying to source a blue-spotted stingray for a while. I think we've been in contact with, the entire process. And
so there were 3 of them that came into the country for you, and none of them were the right ones.
Exactly. So my local fish store, the owner is wonderful. He's really trying hard to get one for me. The first one, they sent the wrong species of stingray. I know the species they sent. It gets huge, and it's a swimmer as well. So he was so excited. He texted me and said that, okay, it's on the plane. It's touchdown at the airport. I've got the boxes. I'm unpacking them. Here's a picture. I was like, that's the wrong stingray, dude. I was like, what the hell do I do now? Well, I have no clue. But it's something that's been ongoing for about 3 months now. The exporters are sending him a picture of the wrong stingrays continuously. So we'll see if I ever get one of those.
And you adjusted your aquascaping specifically to account for that.
Exactly.
Your 3 rock structures in there was the intent to plan on having the blue spot in there, knowing that it would need enough swim space on the bottom and the sand. So you were obviously thinking about that for this particular build.
Exactly, and I've kept freshwater stingrays in the past, so I would really like to get into stingrays again. They have such great personality. I used to have a Moorish idol, which I unfortunately lost to some sort of a stupid accident. I fed it. I went upstairs. I went downstairs, say 30 minutes later, an hour, and it probably got spooked by something and hit its head on a rock. And it was just sitting up in the corner there, all lethargic and unbalanced. And unfortunately, it passed during the night. So that was really unfortunate. So I'll definitely be adding a new idol. Recently, I I got the urge to add a pair of Similavartus angels, Chetodonis Similavartus. I dove with those.
Endemic from Red Sea, as I remember.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I dove with those about 20 years ago in the Red Sea, and ever since I've wanted a pair. And I think I have enough corals and a big enough tank now to manage their tendency to nip. Exactly. Exactly.
They will stimulate the coral to grow faster.
Exactly. And it's not a huge problem. I have a bunch of angels. They all nip on stuff. The Micheal was also nipping on stuff, but no real damage is being done, really. So
I think some of the difference on that, and we've talked about before, is that because you have bigger colonies, they can adjust to it a little bit more. And, as Sever said, it stimulates some growth. But if it's, a tiny, 5-centimeter frag in there, it may not be able to withstand the constant nipping, that a bigger colony can withstand.
Exactly, and if you, like I said, if you have 3 small frags and you put in a couple of angelfish, they'll probably toast in a couple of days.
And the Achilles that you have it for you didn't have any problem with this tank, or just you bought it and you put it in the tank, or you have some tips?
Definitely, I could. I've kept a couple of Achilles during the years. Never really had a problem with them. What I think people often do is that they put them in a tank with a high stress level with a bunch of other tanks, and that, in my experience, can spell disaster since they're very prone to white spot, and they're extremely nervous. So if you have a bunch of other tanks, even if they're DeBossed, they're constantly going to have a high stress level. And also
the Acanthurus one, because you have a Zebrasoma, I see, and
exactly.
They are maybe not. They are not fighting each other usually.
No, they're not fighting. But if you place them, say, with a couple of clown tanks, a Soul Hall, and things like that,
similar body shapes, then
exactly, you're gonna have a problem. And they're really glass cannons as well. They can only dish it out. They can't take any punishment whatsoever. So if you have anything that tries to stand up with them, they're gone. Oh, the anchas are fighting.
I think, but just I try it probably 3 or 4 Achilles. I never had a chance to get the proper one. They are just dying every time.
And I think,
but maybe it was not the right source, I believe, as well. It's a because usually they have some parasites when they came.
Yeah,
they need to be real. Somebody who import them, they need to treat it well, with the special antibiotics and so on before they will give you.
Exactly, and that's my experience as well with, say, the Achilles, Micheals, and Regal Angels and things like that. If you get a specimen that's not of a decent quality from the exporter, you can basically be as talented as you like, do whatever you want. It probably won't make it.
And we talked about this before, and when I talk about Micheals, I bring this up that, and it's not exclusive to them, but to fish that live in different zones. So often we say that the Micheal and as a blanket species, it's its own genus, but their microenvironments they live in definitely dictate what they eat. So, for example, the Indonesian Micheals are very known for eating sponges, and they nip on different food sources than the Hawaiian variety, who is much more algae based and looks for green corals to nip on, versus the Indonesian, which will nip on red corals or white corals to replicate the sponge. And so it's just a simple example to say that not all fish are the same, and where they're collected from and their natural habitat and dietary needs. The more mindful we are of that, the more responsible we can be, in asking our LFS, where did this come from? And then, replicate the different food sources and help to train them, to eat what you're feeding your fish.
Exactly. And I feel like feeding a variety of foods is also key for a lot of these species, and feeding frequencies as well. I fill this tank with pellets and flake foods 4 times a day, a sheet of nori almost every morning before I leave for work, and at least one feeding of frozen every evening. During the weekends, I'll also throw in some mastic, maybe some extra algae or something like that.
Do you have a automatic fish feeder, or do you go in and manually do it?
Yeah, I have an automatic fish feeder, an EHAM one. This guy, I'll see if we can see him. This cat.
Yeah, tell that story.
Yeah, he actually knocked my old one down into the tank. I heard a really loud crash during the night. I was like, what the hell was that? Went up, couldn't see anything. No one broke into the house or anything like that. Went and looked at the tank in the morning. I was sitting at the bottom.
Not the cat, the automatic fish feeder.
Yeah, the automatic fish feeder. Yeah. The cat was fine. It was probably kind of salty because he fell in the tank as well. So yeah.
So good that you saw it, because battery could be really
exactly. That was my thought. My thought exactly. What if this happened when I was on a vacation or something?
Yeah, and you don't have a lid on the tank, if I recall, right?
No, I don't.
No. Yeah.
No, but
I mean,
you have a lot of Eurobrassing.
Yeah.
Protect that more than usually the
rimless tank.
The rimless.
Exactly.
The rimless looks beautiful, but it's not so practical. It's always a choice to make.
Well, and you know, we've talked about, you know, wave action numerous times, and you know, maybe you can tell folks what you got for your waves, but in trying to dial that in so that you get natural waves and without having to splash over, because you have the Eurobrace and you can get away with more structured waves than I can being a rimless tank.
Exactly, and I use a Toonsy wave box. And that's one of the reasons why I have a Eurobrace tank, because I want a wave box in it. It's off now because it's kind of loud. Sure. So I think it turns off at about 7 or 8 or something. But yeah, I love wave action, especially when you have these big aqua colonies. Getting flow to all corners of the tank is always a pain. You'll always end up with dead spots. But since this basically moves all the water in the tank at the same time, you can really eliminate dead spots. So that's why I use one of those guys.
Yeah, you know, as we've talked before, you know, they're popular in Europe. They have not been popular in the US for some time. You know, some of the online stores sell them, and you know, but I'm always curious, you know, how many do they sell? And BRS has done some videos on them in the past, and you know, I know only one person, Abe, down in San Diego that has one, and he swears by it. And I think maybe he has one or two in his main tank, and I know he has one in his display or his grow out tanks. He swears by them for that exact reason. But it's not popular, and I don't know if it's because of the gurgling sound that they make that people just don't want it. So you know, I don't know if you just accept the noise and deal with it, or you can baffled it somehow. But you know, the idea of being able to move the whole body of water, I think, really does help, you know, to get the undersides of some of the corals in between stuff, as you said, particularly in larger colonies.
Exactly, and keeping stuff suspended as well. It actually helps with nutrient exports a great deal as well.
Great point. And I just want to address some of the questions on here real quick. Sid, yeah, I appreciate what you were saying about creating those quarantine tanks. Great use of some space to do that, and those 75 gallons will work great for you on that. And yeah, you know, having what is it? Your Achilles and your powder blue, you're not having much luck with them in the tank. Yeah, probably stress levels on that, and both of those are very high prone fish to stress. So indeed, Kenneth, yeah, you're very welcome. Glad we could feature your tank, and you're right on the more Scheidel question and comment that a lot of you know, inexperienced reefers or people who've been in the hobby for a little bit, they get drawn into them because they are such a beautiful fish, without having mature rock or enough experience and patience to deal with them, because they are a very high demand fish, particularly, you know, when you have them for a few months until you learn the behaviors. And, you know, for reefers like that, yeah, it might be best to keep them into the ocean. You know, for folks who've been in the hobby for a long time and have the patience and time for them, you know, it's a fish to consider. But, you know, again, ask your LFS, you know, where it came from, what it was eating. Obviously now with Hawaii closed, they're all coming from, you know, more of the Indo area. So just, you know, being more mindful of that. So, definitely, you know, each fish is different, and understanding its behavior. And before you buy it, you know, sit at that LFS and observe it for a little while. How long is it eating? Is it interacting with other fish? Which fish is it interacting with? All of those are good telltale signs when you put it in your tank, how it's going to react in there. Also, just real quick, hello, New Zealand. We got some folks in here in Australia as well. And Philip, thanks for joining. And we had a question earlier about my shirt. So this was something that Alex Tang had put together with his cat Solo down here, and Lauren we had on earlier a couple months ago from Simple Aquariums. She was wearing it the other day. So for those who follow them, here's a bit of the picture there. So all right, back to the conversation.
Was there a question about the Majestic Angel?
There was, yeah. Sid was asking about the Majestic. So maybe a little bit about how long you've had it, what's it's eating. Do you know if it was wild or captive?
It's a wild caught one. I've had it for about 2 years, I think. It does nip on the SPS a bit, but again, it doesn't really do any damage. I found that the large angels are a lot better with SPS than the dwarf kind. Because they're not as insistent on like just keep pecking on one piece or something like that. I feed it like I feed everything else in the tank: pellets, flakes, mysis, brine shrimp. Angel formula is a big one, of course, for long-term health. They need that sponge and algae, fresh algae and dried nori, and some mastic every now and again.
So good variety.
Because you are talking about the acanthus. The acanthus is coming from Red Sea, or from you have?
This was the Narvakas, the Majestic.
The Majestic.
Okay.
Yeah.
And my the acanthus is from the Maldives.
Okay, so it's the Indian Ocean one. So
exactly.
I heard that the Red Sea are more brighter. So
it's those two seems to be the same variety actually. They have the same belly, so it doesn't have the blue or gray belly. It has the orange or yellow belly.
I'm just wondering if, for example, if as Aaron said, if, for example, the one that is coming from Red Sea, they have a different dietary needs, or from this one that is coming from Maldives, for example.
From my understanding, the ones that are from like Indonesia and stuff, they are more prone to go after psoas and other soft corals.
Okay.
Yeah,
and you don't have soft corals.
No, I don't. I have a couple. I think I have a couple of psoas somewhere in the back, maybe, if they haven't been eaten.
Yeah. Clearly not the focus of your tank.
No.
Yeah, and again, you've done a really nice job as people can peer over your shoulder to see about the color theory behind it, of the juxtaposition between the purples and the greens and the yellows in there. So you've been able to create great visual interest in just how you've been able to place things. Not only do they help contrast each other in color, but their growth structures and patterns there. So you can see some of them are more cabling, others are more branching. I can't tell it from that. I think that is that either the green slimer or a green stag, but they're definitely the different growth patterns are allowing you to place stuff and have it grow a little bit more natural there.
Yeah, I've done my best. I think this is my 8th reef tank or something, and you do get some experience with mostly from failures. So.
Yeah. And you sacrifice some space just to have a light construction. It looks very nice, just like probably you will be tempted to put some more corals between, but this light structure is looking very, very nice. I like it.
Exactly. I promised myself that I won't place any corals on the sand bed.
Good. Well, because you're getting the stingray too, but you've also, in terms of your coral height, if you looked at that rule of thirds, you keep everything either the bottom third just breaking that halfway point. And so you've got a lot of extra swim space above the corals too that you don't see in a lot of reef tanks these days. A lot of folks are trying to go up at least halfway to 3/4 of the way or more. So you've definitely designed it for grow out and for a lot of swim space.
Exactly. Since I have, for example, the Achilles that really needs the space to swim around, I've purposely done it that way so they can also swim over the colonies. And I think it also provides a bit more of a natural look that way.
Yeah, definitely. It looks nice and will continue to grow out and be beautiful. Sid was asking, what Aquaforest products do you use?
Let's see here. I use Aquaforest Biosand, which is, by the way, the best sand I've ever used. Every Instagram post I do, someone's commenting on the sand. So great job, guys. I use an Aquaforest hat. let's see here.
The life source, the life biofuel.
Exactly.
You mentioned both of those already. I think
The Power Elixir, the Aquaforest.
You dose it manually, or you have it on connected to dosing pump?
On a dosing pump.
That's great.
I used to do I used to dose the what do I call it? The smaller bottles with a pipette earlier.
The ABV, yeah.
Exactly, but this is a lot easier. Just set and forget.
You just add it, just experimentally, every hour or something like that, or I don't know. You dose it during the day or just during the night?
I normally dose it during the night, but now since I've had some issues with dinoflagellates, I've also been dosing it during the day. My thinking is that some other organisms might use it and outcompete the dinoflagellates, like diatoms and stuff, if I dose it during the day as well. And from my understanding, corals also absorb aminos better during the photo period.
Yeah, they are also, but generally you don't dose it in one big dose, that it's usually
no
hard to absorb.
Exactly.
No, smaller one, they will be easier to absorb.
The micro dosing of it. Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly.
And it's also like in the nature, so they absorb all the time everything.
Yeah. There was a couple questions about the sand, and we've talked about it separately, but maybe for the group, what is it that you like about the Aquaforest sand, the biosand, compared to other things?
First off, it's extremely white, and if there's one thing you want, it's a white sand bed, and it also seems to be able to handle flow very well. As you can see, I'm pushing a lot of flow in this tank, and I've never had a sand that isn't stupidly coarse that stays in place as well as this one.
Yeah, and I've sent you some of the pictures from my tank, and and I think, Sid, as you think a bit about it for yours, the shape of it. So a lot of the sands are more round or oval in shape. This one's a little bit flatter, so the structure of it allows for it to stay a little bit more in place than some of the other sands, and its size. And Sever, correct me, I think it's between 1 and 3 or 2 and 4 millimeters in size.
1.5 to 3 to 2.5 or something like that. I don't recall. And there's it's wide, but you have a small shells inside as well, which looks more natural, because like white, super white. It looks nice, but it's not so. It doesn't look natural, some kind. But this one, it's you probably saw it, some spots of this shells inside. So this makes this sand look more natural.
Yeah,
Exactly.
it definitely helps. There's a couple of questions real quick on here. Kenneth, you were asking about the component 1, 2, 3 plus, and that you're dosing 230 ml each day, but your calcium is a little out of whack, and you're having to manually adjust that. So he's asking whether that's normal to do so, or if there's anything that he can do to change that.
So I don't, if I good understood. So he has a higher level of calcium.
And maybe you can answer the question on that, Ken. So what he said in the statement here is that he's dosing 230 ml of each solution a day, but he's having to manually adjust the calcium on a monthly basis. So we'll see.
He must add a little bit more of calcium manually. So probably it will adjust during the time. Maybe there is some imbalance, but probably from my experience, 2 months, 3 months, and it will be adjusted to the same level.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, there's always going to be some micro nuances that happen in a tank based on your absorption and pH. It kind of goes, back to Mogsy, your aquarium, your question about being able to do the same and switching to the Pro. The benefit of going to the Pro is that it's a higher concentration, so you use less volume, but also you get the added benefit of the pH stabilization to it. So
it rise the pH.
Correct.
It rise the pH, and it will be. It's kind of funny that we talk about this, because today I have a discussion with one of our graphic design in our company, which has a nice tank, and he raised the pH, with some new products that we will launch very soon. And he found out that after 4 days of using, the alkalinity in his tank dropped by 3 degrees, and it has 8. And after he found out without any adjustment, because he didn't expect that to rise the pH, it will
how fast the absorption of alkalinity would be.
And he lost some corals even because of that, because he didn't expect that this rise of the pH will rise also the consumption so dramatically, and he didn't adjust it. And 4 days it dropped, because he has a dosing, and normal dosing with component pro, and somehow he didn't manage to change the dosing during this time. So that's why it's so important when so it's so important to know that when you're rising the pH, usually the consumption in tanks
is going to go up as well. Yes. So obviously testing on a regular basis that when you're moving any of these other fluctuations, or your aim is to increase your pH, will definitely help to know whether your absorption is outcompeting your current dose rate. And I guess, for both of you who are dosing, 230 mil and 310 mil a day of each, maybe switching to the Pro will be a little bit more economical for you, because you'll be able to dose a little bit less and get that added benefit as well. So let us know if you have some questions on that too, and we can help you out. But again, any other questions for us or for Micheal, please put it down in the questions below, and we'll be happy to get to them.
Let's see here. In terms of more Aquaforest products I use, this is confusing. Let's see here. What the hell? That that entire rock structure is
the Aquifers Rock.
Yeah, exactly. So that entire rock structure is built out of Aquaforest Rock, which
I didn't know that. So it's good.
And I smashed up some rock and used stone fix to attach them. And I was shocked by how light it was, because when I placed it down into the tank and my wave box was going, the entire structure went like this. So it must be extremely porous or something. So yeah, and I love
that is the goal of this rock, to be porous, just to make to have to make bacteria colonizes the rock, and that's the beauty of this rock, that it's a biological media as well. It's not just a piece of cement or not just a decoration. It's something that will filtrate or help the whole filtration in your tank.
That was really cool. It was really cool when I smashed up some rocks and just see the internal structure of it.
So we're going to be putting out a video very soon all about the Aquaforest Rock. So, but just really quick, going into some of the key things about it is obviously it's extremely light. So the surface area to weight ratio is very favorable, as opposed to even like things like the Pakani, the Tahitian, Fiji, all the other stuff, and especially the man-made rocks are way heavier than the actual size of it. So this is made out of natural ingredients that have been handmade and bonded together. So each rock that you get, and whether it's a 10 kg or 18 kg box, will give you a lot of variability. And many of them, they're all two-sided. So other than the cave arches, you can flip it over. And so one side is very flat. So if you want to have it at the bottom of your aquarium, you can, and the other side has the nodules, or you flip it over, and when you're putting your corals on it, it gives you a lot of individual structures to plant your corals onto. And that, as we said, the porosity of it, was designed as a filtration media. So it is made for helping to balance out your nutrients with stability of your pH and your alkalinity, while still creating a high surface area for those aerobic and anaerobic bacteria to go onto it. One of the things you can't see in the picture of yours, but if anyone has looked at the rock and up close, you can see that the inside of it is a lighter whitish gray color, but the outside has this nice coralline look to it. And so then that is an ecologically safe spray, call it paint, if you will, even though it's not really a paint, that goes on it to coat it. So it looks much more natural than if you were to put in just a regular dry rock. That's going to take months and years to fully cure. This one, it looks better right off the bat, and over time, the coralline algae is going to naturally grow on it because of the ability to just have such a strong porous area. So all of those things make it a really attractive for a lot of reefers, and it's super easy to build with as well. So for those that are looking to try it out, definitely stay tuned for the video that's going to be coming out very soon. And obviously, Micheal, you can keep us posted on your experience with it as well.
Definitely.
And you pay less for a volume, if I can say like that, because if you compare to other brands, you will get the rock, which is the same size that I have rock, but this one it's probably like 40% lighter. So you pay 40% less or 30% less for the same volume, if I can say that.
Yeah, exactly.
I have some structures out of Marco Rock in here as well, and they're stupidly heavy.
Yeah, I mean, Marco Rock is good rock for what it is, but it's it takes time to cure, and you've got to wait for it, and use it in its for particular uses. So we'll leave it at that.
Yeah,
exactly. We are not comments the competitors' products.
Exactly. So just a couple of the other questions here. Sid is teasing you, asking how often you wear that hat, and is it now recommended reef practice for everyone to be wearing hats like that? So
yes, it is. If you're like, let's say, 1 meter from a tank, you should be wearing this hat. If not, bad things can and will happen.
That's right. You got to keep the eyes free there. One of the other questions on here on the component strong. So I'm not sure whereabouts you're located, but yes, there is larger bottles that are being made and available in Europe. That's going to be coming out soon. So ask your LFS about it. But larger bottles have been made on that. So stay tuned for them to be available in your area. And so, Kenneth, yeah, it does boost the pH. And again, it depends on what your baseline pH is. But when we did the lab test, we saw that it boosted it anywhere from, I think it was 0.04 to 0.1. Don't quote me on the numbers exactly. I can get them to you. But there was definitely a boost in the pH that happened when we did the testings in the lab for it.
And it stabilizes more the pH as well. It's not just the rising, but they are more stable during the photo and night period.
Yeah.
Just like and now when I use it, I have during the day like 8.4 even 8.38, and during the night it's 8.15 or something like that. And before I used that, I had even below, during the night it was below 8, like 7.9 even.
Yeah, so Kenneth, that may be a product worth trying out for some of those extra benefits there. We got a question in here about what type of filtration are you running? You mentioned your skimmer before, but what type of reactors, roller, socks? What are you running in there?
Yeah, so let's see here. I have a Royal Exclusive Supermarine 250 skimmer, and I used to have a Clary-C on this tank. The less said about that, the better. I removed it out of sheer frustration. Let's see here, and I have a reactor with life biofill, a refugium, and that's about it, I think.
Are you running carbon, GFO in
that? No GFO. Oh yeah, I'm running carbon as well in the Aquaforest reactor.
Okay.
Aquaforest carbon.
And you use it, you change it like every, I don't know, 2-3 weeks or?
Yeah, every 3 weeks or something. I'm a bit lazy, so I tend to forget. But yeah, I also run Ozone on this tank. I count that as part of the filtration as well, since it removes some toxins and things like that.
And the Ozone that you're running all the time, or during some summer?
No, I'm running all the time, continuously. Since I have it hooked up to my GHL Proflux, so it takes care of that. But I've tried to fine-tune it so I can use a constant dose, so it doesn't switch on and switch off constantly.
Okay. So it's now it's working on just constantly now.
Yeah, I'd say it works, say 20 hours out of the day or something like that.
Okay, but the redox regulate it's on and off, or the level?
You've got it set to your ORP level, right?
Yeah, exactly. So my max ORP level is 395, but it generally stays around 390.
Okay. I mean that's a good amount of filtration on there, and again, you can see that the fish are floating the health of your fish and corals, they look great. You definitely have a passion for the hobby, and it's great to see this transfer come together. And as you're dabbling with some current stuff and what you've got plans for the tank in the future, so we'll definitely want to have you back, in a few months' time to see things grow out. Maybe when you get the more Scheidel, we can both get it at the same time and talk about that as
definitely.
well. We got one other question or two. Sid, thank you for all your questions on the Ozone and the lights. He's asking what brands those are.
Yeah, so I'm in terms of the Ozone, I'm running a Sander 200 milligrams per hour unit, which is way overkill. But I like to run stuff powered down rather than just like running on the max, because I think I can extend the lifetime on them doing that. And the light fixture, which you basically can't see now, is a Giesman Aurora V8 150 Pro. So it's a 1,100 watt light. So it pumps out a fair amount of power. It's a hybrid light, so it has 5 LED pucks and 8 80-watt T5s.
And obviously you can't see it in the video here, but if you're interested, check out Michael's Instagram, Viking Reefing, and you can see some more pictures of his tank and all the intricacies that he's doing. So again, thank you guys for all your questions today. A lot of great questions. If you've got more questions, let us know in the comments below. We'll be responding to that. If you'd like to be a guest on our Tank Talk, also reach out to us and let us know. We're always interested in having exciting folks talking about their tanks and what they're doing. We're here to share our thoughts with the community, as well as invite the community to share theirs. So once again, Micheal, I appreciate you taking the time to join us today. Sever, always nice to have you join as well.
Thank you, Mike.
Until next time, guys. We'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.
Have a good one.
Thank you.